Hello boys and girls. We're going to do some yoga today with me, Mr. Chris, and this time you're going to follow the actions and follow a story, and it's one of my son's favourite stories, Mog the Forgetful Cat by Judith Kerr. Mog always seems to be in trouble for her forgetfulness, but one night it comes in very handy. Right then, we'll begin then guys. So we're beginning sitting down with our legs crossed. Now we always begin the same way. Bring our hands to our heart and Namaste. The story shall begin. So, Mog was a very forgetful cat, and she lived with a family called Thomas. Let's come on and stand up. There was Mr. Thomas, hands to our heart. There was Mrs. Thomas. There was Debbie. And there was a little one, Nikki, down on our knees. Okay? And then there was Mog. Let's go into a cat pose. This is Mog. So we're going to breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Now Mog was a very forgetful cat. Sometimes she ate her dinner. Come to eat our dinner, guys. Nice. And then she'd forgotten she'd eaten it. Where's my dinner? I'm very hungry. They haven't given me my dinner. But they had, hadn't they, yeah? Some days, she was washing her leg. Let's wash my leg, guys. And then forgot to wash the other one. Silly cat. But most of all, she forgot her cat flap. Now her cat flap was a little door where she could go in and out of the house. So we're going to go through the cat flap onto the outside guys. We're going to go down, up, and then lift all the way up, back up to our knees again. And when you're back in, you come back in, you go back down through the cat flap, and back up again. Well done guys, well done. But most of the time, she forgot she had a cat flap. Now one day, Mog was in the garden. Turn around this way yet? And she was having lots of fun. She was trying to chase the birds. Now let's come up, stand 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and the birds were flying. She was trying to chase them. But Mog forgot the cat, back down to a cat pose, and then down up to back plank pose, cannot fly. That was my question now. Because she was a cat, they can't fly, didn't they? But also, she liked to run round and round and round in the garden. We're going to run round and round and round around the garden, yeah? And she also loved to climb the trees. To go up to tree pose, guys and girls, either our foot on our ankle or up on our lower hand, bring our hands to our hearts. And she liked to climb them. So let's try and climb them, reach for the top. Make a big tall tree. Perfect, guys. And then she forgot her cat flap. But she wanted to get back in the house. How am I going to go back in the house? So do you know what she did, boys and girls? She sat, come and sit back down, put the soles of our feet together. She sat on the windowsill outside the kitchen. And she meowed a big meow. Can we all meow together? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Meow! And then eventually somebody let her in. This time it was Nikki that let her in. The door opened. Put her hand, make a door. Window, sorry. And in popped Mog. Oh, thank you, Nikki. She went through the window. Perfect. But what she didn't realise is where she had sat, sit her down again, there were all of Mr. Thomas's flowers. And now the flowers were all flat because she sat on them. This made Mr. Thomas very sad. And you know what he said? He put his hands on his hips and then he put his hand to his thumb and his forefinger and said, "Bother that cat." But Debbie said, "She's nice." one day, Mog, back down to Mog the cat, yeah, had a particularly bad day. She was curled up in a ball, nice and asleep. Down to child pose, nice and asleep. When all of a sudden, Nikki gave her a big hug. Just wrapped her arms around her body and gave her a big hug. But Mog was still sleepy and wasn't very happy, so jumped away. So we're going to jump up, jump, and she ran away. Okay. Then, at breakfast time, she was eating an egg. It's like an egg, guys, egg shape. But she forgot that cats only have eggs as a treat. They normally have milk or fish. We'll make a fish pose, boys and girls. On her back, put her arms up here, and make a fish pose, okay? That's what they normally eat, not eggs. But she ate Nikki's egg. And do you know what Mrs. Thomas said? Mrs. Thomas said, "Bother that cat." But Debbie said, "Debbie, Nikki doesn't like eggs anyway." Yeah, putting her hand up there. And it's true, he didn't like eggs. So then, Mog thought he'd go back to sleep again after Nikki woke him up. So Mog was lying down here, nice and asleep, curled up in a ball in child pose. And she had a lovely dream. She dreamed that actually she could fly. Back in the plank pose. And she was flying, chasing the birds. Even the quite big birds. And then she woke up. And you know where she sat this time? She sat on top of Mrs. Thomas's hat. And she squashed it. So when Mr. Thomas put her hat on, can I put a hat on, boys and girls? It didn't look very nice because it was all squashed. And you know what Mrs. Thomas said? A Mr. Thomas pose. She said, hands on hips, "Bother that cat." But Debbie said, "I think, Mum, you look nicer without a hat." So now it was time for supper. So Mog was going outside. So Mog went outside, even though it was supper time, because she forgot that it was supper time. So she went through a cat flap. Will you through a cat flap, guys? Yeah? You're going to go down and up, out through a cat flap. And she was in the street. And it was raining in the street. Oh no, it was raining. She didn't like the rain. And then, guess what she saw on the road? She saw a dog. Make our downward dog pose. So putting our feet up, tucking our head between our arms. It was a big dog as well, look. Woof, woof. Woof, woof. And the dog chased after Mog. Let's move forward. And Mog, on the hands and knees, guys, Mog decided to run. And she ran right round the house. And she jumped up. We jump up, guys. Jump up. Star jump. Ah. She jumped up onto the windowsill. And she meowed a big meow. Ready after 3? 1, 2, 3. Meow! This made Mrs. Thomas drop the food she had in her hand onto the floor. And what did Mrs. Thomas say? Mrs. Thomas said, hands on hips, "Bother that cat." And Debbie said, it wasn't her fault. Her hands up like this, no? So Mog wasn't feeling very good. But they let her in anyway. And they gave her her dinner. So down to cat pose. And her supper. She's going to eat it all up. Okay, eat it all up, guys. Fish. And she went off to go and find somewhere to lie down. And she was lying down. So lie down then, guys. Oh, right down here. But she had her arm and her legs draped over the top of the TV. And Mr. Thomas was trying to see the fight on the TV. Because then it was going to be the football afterwards as well. And he couldn't see. So Mr. Thomas said, what did Mr. Thomas say, you guys? Come up, standing, to attention, hand up. He said, hands on hips, bother that cat. So Mog thought, nobody likes me. But then she thought, I know, Debbie likes me. Now Debbie was also asleep. Debbie's asleep. So lie down, palms up in the air, guys. Nice and relaxed. And Debbie was sleeping. So Mog came in and Mog started to lick her hair. Licking her hair. But she forgot that Debbie was not a kitten. But Debbie was having a bad dream. She was having a dream that a tiger wanted to eat her and was licking her hair. And suddenly she woke up, sat up, guys, suddenly, whoo! And she screamed, ah! You all screamed, did you, yeah? Ah! This made Mr. and Mr. Thomas run down the stairs. And they said, what's wrong? Debbie was crying. And they saw Mog run off. Let's go, Mog, running off. Ah! And they stand up again, boys and girls. So what do they say, the two of them? Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Thomas, they said, bother, bother, bother that cat. This made Mog feel very sad. So she went out her cat flap. Remember, we go down and up, in through the cat flap and into the garden. Now we're going to sit down, guys, because Mog was sat down. With her legs together, okay? She sat in the garden. It was very dark in the garden. And Mog was very sad. She felt very lonely and thought, no one likes me. They've all gone to bed and nobody has given me my supper. But they had, hadn't they, boys and girls? They had. She just forgot because she's a very forgetful cat. And then she saw in the window a little light. It was like a little torch. And she thought, oh, maybe that man will let me in. Maybe he'll give me my supper. So she jumped up, and we're going to jump up the star jump, and gave her biggest meow yet. Ready, guys and girls? Jump up and meow! This made the man in the kitchen shocked and dropped his bag. Ah! Mr. Thomas ran down the stairs. Mr. Thomas, and he said, a burglar! Mrs. Thomas rang the police. Debbie opened the door. Let's grab our doors, guys. And let Mog in. And Nikki gave her a big cuddle, wrap her arms around her body. Oh, really good, guys, really good. So then the policeman arrived. The policeman's got a big pointy hat. So we're going to have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and a warrior pose. Yeah, a big pointy hat. And they told the policeman all about what happened. And the policeman turned. We're going to turn that way. The policeman turned and said, wow, what a remarkable cat. I've seen watchdogs, but I've never seen a watch cat. Moving her arms here with her palms up. Never seen a watch cat. No, has he? No. She will get a medal. Medal around her neck here. But Debbie said, I think she'd rather have an egg to eat. She likes eggs, remember? So let's make an egg, our egg pose again. So Mog, the cat, into a cat pose, guys, had a medal and she had an egg. Make an egg pose again. Every day for breakfast. And Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Thomas told all their friends about her. And they never, well, almost never, said, bother that cat. And bring our hands to our hearts, guys, and slowly sit down, crossing our legs. And that is the end of our story today. Namaste.